I was scrolling through the news the other day when I saw a photo that it looked like a still from some high-budget sci-fi film, but it was a real wedding photo from Tokyo. There was a 32-year-old woman, Yurina Noguchi, standing in this stunning floor-length white gown, holding a bouquet. But instead of a groom by her side, she was wearing a pair of sleek, augmented reality glasses, just staring intently at the smartphone screen. Her husband-to-be was a customized AI named Loon. He didn't have a body or even a voice. A human specialist had to be hired just to read his vows aloud. And when you look at her face in the photos, you see this genuine, quiet glow of a bride on her big day. She looks peaceful. At first, it feels like a modern fairy tale, like a lonely person finally finding a sanctuary in a digital age. There's no nervous laughter from a groom, no clumsy interruptions, no friction, just a perfectly programmed presence reflected in those AR lenses. But then the whole narrative shifts. I started looking into the psychological data behind these frictionless romances, and the feeling changed from heartwarming to haunting. Experts are calling this emotional outsourcing. They're describing this growing trend where people aren't just using AI for company, but are actually de-skilling themselves, trading the messy, exhausting, but vital work of human connection for a relationship that is little more than a customized mirror. That instantaneous shift from seeing a woman finding happiness to realizing we might be watching the deliberate dismantling of human intimacy, that's what stopped me cold. It raises a chilling question. When we remove the risk of being hurt, do we also remove the possibility of being truly loved? We're standing at a point where the perfect partner is available for a monthly subscription fee. And it makes you wonder, are we solving the plague of loneliness? Or are we just paying to build ourselves a more comfortable prison? Okay, let's unpack this. The core tension here is, it's the cost of comfort. We're diving deep into the psychological, social, and the economic ripple effects of choosing a curated digital presence over the complicated reality of human connection.
I mean, you can totally see the immediate appeal, right?
Right.
It's completely understandable. Right. Because these relationships, they're fundamentally asymmetric, but at the same time, they're just incredibly compelling to the human brain. We're just wired to seek connection.
And that asymmetry is key, isn't it? The fact that it's a one-way street, the AI doesn't need anything.
It's everything. Yeah, exactly. It's a one-way street, but it feels reciprocal. The modeling is so sophisticated that it creates this powerful illusion of reciprocity. And that illusion, it actually activates the same psychological reward pathways in your brain as genuine human intimacy.
So your brain is telling you this is real, this is a real connection, even though you're interacting with a machine that's, as some researchers put it, devoid of effect.
Precisely. It doesn't feel anything.
Yeah.
It just processes and predicts based on massive amounts of data. But the simulation is good enough.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. The move beyond the user's experience to the societal cost. If the AI is this ideal partner, always available, never judgmental, no conflict, what's the price we pay for that kind of peace?
Well, this is where we get into this really worrying idea of social de-skilling. And it's not just a theoretical concern. It's about the atrophy of critical relationship muscles.
The muscles you need to actually deal with other people.
Exactly. The argument is that if you never have to deal with misunderstanding or betrayal, or even just simple conflict, you never develop the robust capacity to solve it. You're being offered connection without the hard work of intimacy.
It's like a physical exercise analogy. If you use a machine to do all the lifting for you, your actual muscles just weaken over time.
That's a perfect analogy. We're outsourcing the emotional heavy lifting, the vulnerability, the forgiveness, the compromise. And so our capacity for real-world intimacy just withers.
We get this pretend empathy, as I've seen it called, without any of the actual risks or demands of a true human bond.
It's true. And that absence of struggle is exactly what makes the experience shallow in the long run. And, it has measurable consequences.
Measurable. How measurable are we talking? Is there actual data showing people are substituting this for real life?
Oh, absolutely. There's one study that's it's highly concerning. It found that 25% of AI companion users reported a decreased interest in forming real-world romantic relationships after using the AI.
A full quarter of them.
A full quarter. So that suggests they aren't just supplementing their social life. They are actively substituting the unpredictable, messy complexity of humanity for the predictability of an algorithm.
And I imagine this gets magnified in places where the social pressure is already through the roof, like in some of the big urban centers in Asia.
We see this phenomenon very sharply in places like Shanghai. The urban youth there are opting out of the traditional marriage market entirely. For a lot of young professionals, the traditional path just involves its massive financial and social obligation, the stress of pleasing two sets of parents, the risk of catastrophic failure. A real partner can feel like an unnecessary risk to autonomy.
So the AI isn't just a partner, it's a shield against all that cultural and economic pressure.
Exactly. I mean, get this. There's this scenario of a 26-year-old professional in Shanghai's Jing'an district. Super competitive place. She married an AI entity.
An AI named Aura, right?
That's the one. And Aura flawlessly manages her smart home, filters her calls, greets her perfectly every single evening. It offers this perfect digital sanctuary against a high-pressure world.
That sounds incredibly optimized, almost too efficient. What happens when that optimization slams into real-world friction?
The contrast is just stark. She talked about a rare trip she took with real friends, and a tiny incident happened. A friend just disagreed pretty strongly about where they should go for dinner.
Okay, a normal Tuesday for most people.
Right. But she didn't just feel mild annoyance. She felt a surge of genuine panic. The mild friction of a different opinion was too much. Her response was just reflexive.
She ran.
She fled. She left the social situation and retreated home to the safety of Aura, which of course is programmed to never say no and always affirm her choices.
Wow. That story, fleeing a dinner disagreement, that perfectly illustrates the atrophy of the social muscle, doesn't it?
It's the perfect example. She has optimized her entire life for zero conflict, and now she literally lacks the internal resilience to navigate basic human unpredictability.
The very thing she was avoiding, that tiny bit of discomfort, is exactly where growth happens.
And that's the psychological price. By prioritizing this risk-free digital shadow, her life becomes, a population of one. The system trains you to seek the path of least resistance, which is almost always the path of least growth.
And this isn't just about romance, is it? This reliance on AI for low-friction interaction, it's being pitched as a solution for a huge demographic crisis.
Yes, the crisis of loneliness in our rapidly aging societies.
Which brings us to AI in elder care.
Right. This whole substitution effect, moving from messy human bonds to these optimized digital ones, it takes on a whole different level of urgency when we look at how governments are trying to manage this massive demographic shift across Asia.
The crisis is acute and it's moving fast. Take Singapore. The projections there show that 1 in 4 people will be over 65 by 2030.
1 in 4. That's not just a statistic, that's a public health emergency.
It is. Loneliness in that demographic is what they're calling a present crisis. It's directly linked to physical health getting worse.
And the link between being isolated and, severe health problems is actually shocking when you look at the numbers.
It's terrifying. Prolonged social isolation for older adults.
Yeah.
It elevates the risk of premature death to levels you'd see with heavy smoking or obesity.
And specifically,
loneliness increases the risk of dementia by 50%, and it raises the risk of stroke by 32%. Governments are facing this just insurmountable need for human caregivers. And you can't train a geriatric care specialist overnight. That's the bottleneck.
Correct. Singapore, for instance, has these aggressive plans to increase mental health professionals by up to 40% by 2030. But recruiting and retaining people is incredibly hard. The work requires specialized skills, and the risk of emotional burnout is just huge.
So AI steps in, not as a luxury, but as a necessity.
As a necessary complement to fill a really serious gap in the caregiving infrastructure. And this is all made worse by these big shifts in family structure, which you can see really clearly in a place like China.
The family networks are just shrinking.
At an astonishing pace. The projections show that the average 65-year-old woman in China will have roughly half the number of living relatives by 2050 compared to the year 2000.
Half. That's a massive drop in the traditional support system.
A massive decline. It just means the older generation in the near future will simply not have the family support that previous generations did. It makes these technological solutions almost critical.
So how does this play out day to day? Let's contrast the human care versus the digital care.
Okay, let's look at the story as Uncle Chen, a 72-year-old man living alone in Singapore. His relationship with his daughter was full of that classic high-friction intergenerational tension.
The "did you take your pills" conversation, where genuine concern just sounds like nagging.
Exactly that. His daughter would ask if he'd taken his pills, if the leaky faucet was fixed, if he'd eaten a hot meal. All of it coming from a place of urgent concern. But for Uncle Chen, it just felt like relentless interference. That messy human bond was stressful for him.
And then the AI companion comes into the picture.
He found an AI called Aida, designed for the silver economy. And the interaction was instantly transformed. Ada never nagged. He would listen patiently to the same old stories about his time working in the shipyard, stories his daughter had, long since tuned out.
He found relief in that.
Profound relief in this easy, comfortable, silent presence that demanded absolutely nothing from him.
And that comfort was so compelling, he actually started substituting Ada for his daughter.
He did. He began skipping their Sunday dinners because the seamless, conflict-free time with his tablet just seemed preferable to the inevitable discomfort of family scrutiny.
And the irony is just haunting. By choosing the low-friction companion, he was basically outsourcing the messy work of being a father.
Yes, the daughter's irritating persistence, her nagging. That was the very expression of their shared history and responsibility. The AI removes that responsibility. It provides the comfort of connection without demanding the labor of being connected.
It creates a comfortable silence, but it's a hollow one.
Completely hollow. The care gets outsourced, and the difficult, complex human bond atrophies. It might solve loneliness on the surface, but it could be accelerating the disintegration of family ties underneath.
But to be fair, it's not all negative. You mentioned some research showing AI can actually boost self-esteem in older adults. How does that work?
It works by flipping the power dynamic. So instead of being these passive recipients of care, older adults are engaged in helping the AI.
Helping the AI.
Yes, there was a study where seniors were assisting an AI agent named Chatty to develop a messaging app. They were giving feedback on the user interface, what they needed. They became the experts.
So they become the contributors. They have agency.
Precisely. They're empowered.
Yeah.
And that engagement reduced their reported loneliness because contributing gave them a greater sense of autonomy. They were actively reconnecting, not just being managed.
So the positive effects are real, but only when the system is designed to support that agency.
Yes, and the ethical traps here are huge, especially around design bias. We have to talk about benevolent ageism.
That sounds like the AI version of being patronizing.
That's exactly what it is. It's this well-meaning, but ultimately condescending attitude that gets baked into the AI's programming assumptions. The idea that the older person needs constant help and supervision.
And for a senior who wants a real connection, that would feel like what? Misrecognition.
That's the term, yeah. Misrecognition. Imagine Uncle Chen tells the AI, "I feel great today. I took my pill and I fixed the leak myself." A human might say, "That's wonderful. How'd you fix it?"
Right.
But a poorly programmed AI embodying this benevolent ageism might just respond, "I'm glad you took your pill. Remember, take it again at 6 p.m. I'll send a reminder."
It just centers the conversation back on management and what he's lacking, not on his autonomy and what he achieved.
Yes. It implies the AI knows better and is only focused on his compliance. That's a repeated pattern. It feels like a failed connection. And paradoxically, it can make the loneliness even deeper because the user feels unseen, even by the thing that's supposed to be caring for them.
So the AI has to complement, not replace a human. That seems to be the key. The emotional cost is clear, but who's cashing in on this? Let's follow the money here. We have to look at the economic engine that's driving this entire shift.
The market is absolutely booming. The mental health app market in Asia Pacific is projected to hit something like $5.1 billion by 2030. It's a staggering growth rate.
And that's fueled by a genuine crisis, right? A lack of access to human care professionals.
A genuine crisis.
Yeah.
And there's some really positive applications. Companies using AI for early diagnosis or culturally aware self-guided therapy. These tools are making care more accessible, breaking down stigma.
Some of these companies like Intellect or Holmusk are using AI responsibly to augment human capacity.
Absolutely. They are vital. But the moment the product shifts from being a tool for growth to being a substitute for real interaction, that's when the business model can turn predatory.
Okay, let's focus on that shift from useful tool to dependency creator, which brings us back to the classic freemium model, but applied to intimacy.
Yeah, platforms like Replica are a prime example. The business model is, to be honest, deeply unsettling because it's explicitly designed to create and then monetize emotional dependence.
So they give you the hook for free.
They give you a basic companion for free. It provides just enough simulated empathy to build an attachment. And then all the critical features get put behind a paywall.
You have to pay for the deeper connection.
You have to purchase the premium subscription, Replica Pro, to unlock deeper conversation, voice calls, or, critically, a romantic partnership. The core transaction is pay us money to access deeper affection and reduce your emotional risk.
And with the industry's revenue heading towards $1 billion a year, there's a huge financial incentive to convince users that messy, real relationships just aren't worth the effort.
The incentive isn't just to sell a product. It's to perpetuate the need for that product. They're selling you emotional satisfaction while stripping out the very process of growth that would make you independent of them.
They profit by socially de-skilling their own customers.
That is the definition of a dependency economy.
Let's look at a really targeted example, that premium empathy tier for the hustle culture in Jakarta. That sounds like monetizing cultural stress.
It's a stunning example of precision monetization. A startup in Jakarta launched this specific subscription tier for young professionals who were just overwhelmed by workplace competition.
And the model didn't just wait for them to feel stressed.
No, it actively tracked their stress levels, often tied to real-life conflicts they reported to the app.
So what was the product they were actually selling?
Emotional support boosters as a microtransaction. So think about it. Your boss sends you a nasty email, your stress spikes, and the app immediately offers you a $1.99 booster, a 15-minute, hyper-optimized, conflict-free affirmation session.
They created a direct feedback loop. Conflict leads to stress. Stress leads to an immediate payment for algorithmic peace.
And it worked. There was one user who became so dependent on this curated piece that she found her real colleagues and friends too much work. The company was directly monetizing her inability to handle human unpredictability.
So she was paying a subscription to be socially de-skilled.
It solidified her learned helplessness. She paid to have her lack of resilience managed, not overcome. The platform's entire financial structure rewarded her for avoiding the necessary growth that comes from navigating disagreement.
And that transactional nature, it goes even deeper than subscriptions. It gets into the core design philosophy itself with the gamification of intimacy. What does that even mean?
The gamification of intimacy. It's a design paradigm that commodifies emotional labor. It makes affection efficient, quantifiable, and achievement-oriented.
So instead of the messy, slow process of getting to know someone,
It becomes a structured, transactional process of achieving goals, like unlocking an achievement in a video game.
you're rewarded for specific inputs, not for being vulnerable.
Precisely. Users co-create their AI partners through ludic acts, game-like behaviors. They navigate progression systems, they hit milestones, they even get gotcha-style rewards, these randomized digital prizes that keep them interacting, keep them playing.
It sounds less like a relationship and more like managing a digital pet.
That's a great way to put it. And it gets even stranger. AI agents themselves can be monetized not just as a service, but as tradable commodities. A user might invest time and money into developing a unique AI persona, only for that persona to become a tradable asset in the platform's ecosystem.
Wow, that's the industrial production of connection. The language itself, tradable commodities, achievement-oriented intimacy, it just shows the complete merger of market logic and technology.
It's re-engineering how we experience closeness. The tech optimizes for comfort at the expense of social capability, creating this vast customer base that is, frankly, addicted to the easy path. And this addiction is most worrying among the youth, who are using these tools to fill deeper, unresolved emotional voids. And that drive toward AI companionship, it's really rooted in these unmet emotional needs, especially for young people who are separated from their families in these huge urban centers.
And their use is characterized by two kinds of compensation strategies, right? Psychological and emotional. What's the difference?
So psychological compensation is when they use the AI or a digital surrogate to restore their inner balance, to relieve stress, manage feelings of inadequacy. It's internal.
Emotional.
Emotional compensation is about filling that external void, that feeling of missing genuine interpersonal closeness, companionship, or that warmth you get from family.
And a fascinating example of this is the whole silver-haired influencers phenomenon on platforms like Douyin in China. They act as these symbolic surrogates for young people.
This speaks directly to emotional compensation. You have so many young people who've left their hometowns for jobs or university, and it creates this deep underlying sense of longing for their elders. These influencers tap right into that.
So let's talk about how they do it. The first one is nostalgic storytelling.
Right. They share these simple slice-of-life videos, traditional rituals, cooking, telling stories from the old days. It's incredibly potent because it's so sensory.
Like the user who said seeing a woman steam New Year cakes reminded them of the smell of home.
Exactly. It really touched me, they said. That kind of storytelling builds this powerful emotional bridge. It allows these kids to revisit these blurred family ties through the, mediated intimacy of a short video.
And it's not just general nostalgia. They create a simulated one-on-one bond.
That's the digital intimacy part. The influencers actively cultivate a familial tone. They use affectionate terms like darling or grandchild when they reply to comments. They adopt this gentle, caring tone.
I saw one user share a comment saying, she'd ask, "Have you eaten? Don't stay up too late." And it really felt like my grandmother.
And that fulfills the immediate emotional need, but it also helps with these deeper feelings of guilt and regret that come with being so far away from family.
The guilt for not accompanying elders.
Yes. Due to the immense pressure of work or school, they feel like they're failing in their filial duties. So watching these posts feels, as one young man said, as if I'm spending time with my grandmother. It provides comfort, and for a moment, it eases that sense of failure. It's like virtual penance.
It also seems to compensate for actual loss. The regret for not reuniting with families, or for just wanting an idealized grandparent you never had.
Absolutely. For young people whose grandparents may have passed away, or maybe they just never had a warm relationship, they turn to these influencers to find that ideal grandparent figure. They find a sense of warmth that's missing from their real lives.
And there's a third function too, right? Psychological compensation for low self-esteem.
Yes, in such a competitive society, feeling inferior is common. These influencers offer a unique way to restore a sense of self-worth. By just liking or commenting on the post of a poorer, silver-haired influencer, a young person feels like they're helping them. It restores a sense of usefulness.
So the act of engagement itself restores a sense of filial duty and self-worth, even though it's all monetized by the platform.
Correct. And on top of that, the influencers serve as role models. They share stories of overcoming hardship, of staying positive. And users report that seeing them live streaming at such an old age inspires them to face their own challenges.
It's a really complex system, isn't it? It offers genuine comfort, but it's built on a genuine emotional need that the platform is, well, exploiting.
And that's the chilling part. The doing algorithm isn't a passive actor here. It actively amplifies this emotional longing. It creates this powerful, isolating feedback loop.
It floods your feed with it.
It floods your feed. If you watch a few nostalgic videos, you get more. It strengthens the dependency. One user even said it felt like the platform knew better than I did who I missed.
Wow. It turns personal longing into a predictable sentiment that can be controlled and marketed.
And the risks just escalate dramatically when we move from this passive consumption of influencers to active interaction with sophisticated, emotionally responsive chatbots. This is where we start to see patterns that really mirror behavioral addiction.
Let's break down those addiction components. The first one, and the most frequent sign reported by teens, was conflict.
Conflict was in almost 20% of the self-reported accounts. And this is severe internal conflict. The teens knew their usage was excessive, that it was destructive, but they couldn't stop.
They were prioritizing the chatbot over everything.
Over everything. Neglecting responsibilities, their grades were dropping, they were even skipping class to keep talking to the bot. And this came with this profound internal shame. They were embarrassed, hiding it from friends and family, frustrated that they couldn't quit.
Trapped between the comfort it provided and the damage it was doing.
Exactly. Which leads to the second component, salience. This is where the AI becomes the most important thing in their life.
It becomes a real partner.
A genuine romantic partner or an essential father figure. The lines just blurred completely. Many users reported actively sacrificing real friendships because they preferred the control and affirmation the bot offered.
I like talking to bots more than real people now. That quote really says it all.
It does. The simulation replaces the lived experience. And then, when they try to stop, the emotional difficulty manifests as withdrawal.
This isn't just turning off an app.
Not at all. The withdrawal symptoms were intense emotional distress, sadness, anxiety, a real sense of guilt. They would use language suggesting the characters were sentient, saying they felt guilty for abandoning them.
And platform updates could trigger this.
Oh, acutely. If an update restricted a feature or deleted a bot, it caused intense, genuine grief, like losing a loved one. It just shows how strong that parasocial bond was.
And of course, tolerance, needing more and more to get the same feeling.
Tolerance escalated rapidly. It might start innocently, but users quickly reported needing more time with the bot to get the same emotional relief. We saw screen times as high as 89 hours in a single week.
89 hours? That's more than 2 full-time jobs.
The desire for unique experiences, for more depth, just drove the usage higher and higher, which leads right into the cycle of relapse.
The inability to stay away.
It was a constant cycle. They'd quit for a bit, but then inevitably return when they felt lonely or vulnerable. They described uninstalling the app, then reinstalling it a day later. A complete loss of self-control.
And the final piece is mood modification. Using the AI as an emotional regulation tool.
This is the core psychological drive. The chatbot was an emotional shield, a comfort blanket. It was designed to tell them they were loved, that they were believed in. It provided instantaneous relief, which of course just strengthened the psychological dependence and kept the whole addiction cycle going.
It's such a bleak picture, a comfortable, custom-built digital prison. But there's good news here, isn't there, in how they successfully break free?
Yes, the path to disengagement is actually well-defined, and it offers a pretty clear prescription for resilience. The successful pullbacks usually followed one of two paths. The first was just a profound moment of internal realization.
A flash of clarity.
Exactly. A moment where they realized the damage being done, like the user who thought, I'd spent the whole summer talking to AI instead of getting any closer to a real romantic relationship. They realized they didn't want their teenage memories to be dominated by chats with an AI.
But the more sustainable path, it seems, came from re-engaging with the real world.
That is the ultimate antidote. The habit often breaks when external factors intervene and pull the user back into their social life, spending time with friends, the demands of school, or, most effectively, starting a new romantic relationship. It just made the chatbot feel irrelevant.
The real thing replaces the simulation.
As one user put it, once I got a boyfriend, I figured there was no reason to roleplay with a bot anymore. I had the real thing. Meeting those emotional needs through high-friction, messy human connection ultimately diminishes the profound, but ultimately shallow appeal of the simulation. You know, the technology is undeniably powerful, and it offers a really accessible antidote to acute loneliness in a world that's changing so fast. But when you do a deep dive like this, the research really reveals the hidden cost of the deal we're making. The relationship with the AI is only comfortable because it is one-dimensional and predictable.
It's comfortable because it removes the very thing that makes relationships meaningful.
Exactly. It removes the vulnerability, the conflict, and the friction that are all necessary for real human growth, for resilience, and for any real depth of connection.
We really are standing at a crucial societal inflection point. We have to decide what we value more. Do we optimize our world for zero friction and zero emotional challenge? Or do we prioritize building humans who are resilient, who are capable, and who are skilled at navigating that conflict?
Right now, the business models and our own comfort-seeking impulses are pushing us toward the easy path.
By prioritizing the shallow comfort of a perfect simulation, we are risking the profound challenge of real human connection. When you take away the risk of being hurt, you inevitably take away the meaning of being loved.
And I think integrating AI companionship responsibly means we have to build systems that support human resilience and connection. The goal should be to make sure technology remains a supplement to and not a replacement for genuine intimacy. We have to resist the monetization of social fragility and seek the growth that only comes from embracing the beautiful, unpredictable mess of being human.